Okay. Um, yeah, I guess should I start or should I wait till my aunt comes?
She's coming.
Yeah.
Then we can wait.
Okay. Why don't we wait 5 minutes and
Yeah, no problem. No
yeah.
problem with me. Yeah. Okay, then I'll finish my coffee and come in about 2 minutes.
Should I pause the recording then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me pause. Okay, today's topic is digital photography tips. Um, let me let me start sharing my PowerPoint then. Okay.
If you want to wait for your aunt, it is fine.
I think she might take a while to come though.
Oh.
So maybe I can just start then.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so the first tip I have is about light meters. Light meters are used to measure the brightness of a scene. They can measure the reflected brightness values of a scene. They can see luminance or brightness. They can be found in modern cameras or separate handheld models. The handheld meters can have two kinds. As for proper exposure, the proper exposure for a photograph is achieved through a combination of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Metering and matrix metering. Matrix metering is built into many DSLRs. Every modern DSLR has a metering mode: camera metering, exposure metering, or metering. Metering is how your camera determines correct shutter speed and aperture. The most common metering modes in digital cameras today are matrix metering, center weighted metering, and spot metering. Metering measures the reflected light and determines the optimal exposure. It is possible to see metering in action with the manual mode. It works well when the scene is evenly lit, but doesn't work well when there are different light levels and intensities. Matrix metering divides the image into zones or sections, taking a separate reading for each zone. Center weighted metering evaluates the middle area of the image. It places majority of metering calculations on the center circle and the rest on what is going on in the rest of the frame. Spot metering evaluates only the light at the focus point you choose. It is useful to familiarize yourself to the nuances to which the matrix metering on your camera responds to. Most images use matrix metering. To avoid overexposing or underexposing, meter something gray and use that reading for the best exposure. Exposure lock or manual exposure is a helpful tool. For backlight, use flash or exposure compensation. For snow or beach scenes, use exposure compensation. For night scenes, use a shorter exposure time or choose a smaller aperture. What is exposure lock? This is a way to keep the same shutter speed and aperture for the next photo you will take. To activate it, press down on the shutter halfway, but not all the way. Then frame your scene as you want it. What is shutter speed and aperture? The shutter speed that shows up on your camera is the one that has a fraction. The aperture that shows up on your camera is the one with the f in front of it, such as f3.8. The shutter speed is the speed that the camera will take the picture. The aperture is the size of the opening in the lens. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture is. What is auto mode and manual mode? Auto mode in the camera is for beginners and it adjusts shutter speed and aperture for you. When you want to try something more advanced, you can change the mode to the manual mode. In my camera's guide mode, there is easy operation and advanced operation, and these will give instructions on how to achieve a certain effect. Getting the most from digital exposures. Exposure compensation is a great feature. Does the image quality of DSLRs get better and better? This is a question I have had, whether or not the image quality of DSLRs get better and better. Here it compares Nikon D3100 and Nikon D3500. As you can see, the later model has better resolution from this picture. The Nikon D3100 has a resolution of 14.2 megapixels, and the Nikon D3500 has the resolution of 24 megapixels. DSLRs versus mirrorless cameras. There's a debate about whether DSLRs are better or whether mirrorless cameras are better. Mirrorless cameras are cameras that use digital imaging sensor instead of a mirror to reflect what the lens is seeing through the electronic viewfinder. Using the Nikon D3100. And if we have time, we can watch this tutorial video later.
Okay.
Taking digital photos on your phone. There are apps that you can download if you would like to take digital photos on your phone. Some of my recent photographs. The name of my series is Silicon Valley at Daytime. And here I have put my photos that belong to this series, Silicon Valley at Daytime.
What area is this?
Mountain View. And I use both my digital camera to take these and my cell phone camera to take it.
See, you have taken side by side 2 pictures of the same shot.
Oh, no. What I mean is some of them are from my digital camera and some are from my cell phone. Yeah.
Oh, I have been to Mountain View, but not this area. This may be
Oh,
somewhere, a mall kind of a thing in the downtown
uh,
streets.
no, it is just Mountain View downtown and people put the chairs outside.
Oh, I see.
And here is an example of different exposures. There's the same scene, but it has different exposures. So as you can see, this one is darker and this one is lighter.
Yeah.
And that's because I changed the aperture
Mm-hmm.
and shutter speed, I think.
Oh, I see. So this is from your camera, not
Yeah,
the.
my camera, yeah.
Yeah.
And here is another example. See, the second one is brighter
Mhm.
and the first is darker.
Oh, okay. So here the aperture was bigger, where it is lighter.
Yeah, that's right. And lastly, I have this assignment. Take some photographs and create a series. Series in art is where it has the same theme that interconnects different works of art. For example, the name of my photographs is Silicon Valley in the Daytime.
Oh, okay. So make an album kind of, sort
Yeah,
of the same, uh, similar of photos or event.
yeah, that's right.
So uh, right now, I don't have any camera which is where I can adjust stuff much. Uh, my camera is more or less like my phone camera.
Uh-huh.
Do we have any adjustments in our phone cameras? Maybe very little, but or it is all automatic.
Yeah, you can use your phone. And as I said earlier, there are a lot of apps you can get on your phone, and the apps will allow you to adjust the shutter speed and aperture. And then
Oh, I see.
you can adjust it and try to take different photos with different exposures.
And do you know any good one apps or do you have anything that you can recommend or
Um, yeah, let me see. What kind of phone do you have? Do you have an
I have Samsung J Note.
So it's Android.
Android, yes.
I just posted a link there, but yeah, I think if you just look for camera app, a lot will show up,
Okay.
but
Okay.
the website can also give you some reviews on which ones are good.
Okay. Because I didn't know about that.
Um,
Not that I would have used it much, but well, it is good to know.
okay, yeah. Yeah, the main point of my lecture here was that you can change the shutter speed and aperture to get different exposures, and yeah.
I learned about shutter speeds and um, focal length
Yeah.
when I was given first camera in my hand in when I was about 16 years old.
Oh,
That was at that time everything was manual.
okay.
So you had to learn those kind of things. But uh, time went by. I did not use that camera so much. I may have taken some photographs
Uh-huh.
during my college days and all that. And ever since this new cameras have come, digital cameras, I have never used that. So I just know what is what F stands for, and what shutter speed is, and all that thing, but nothing much
Uh,
about it. Yeah.
uh-huh.
So it's
Okay.
good you reminded me that I learn at least what it is uh, long back.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to like to take pictures, but when I was very young, it was like very limited the use of phone because uh, you had to buy the rolls and you had to get them developed, and like it was costly affair. As a
Uh-huh.
college student, I didn't have extra money to spend on those kind of things. Once in a while, when it is a special event, then I will buy one roll because it is going to have more expenses later on for developing them
Mm-hmm.
and getting the prints out of it.
Okay.
But now it is different. Now we have everything on our phone. So,
Uh-huh.
and I use mainly for whenever I go outdoor for sketching and all that thing. When I cannot finish my sketching, I take pictures, bring them back. Sometimes I just go out and take pictures so that I can select some for my paintings, you know, and do
Okay.
some paintings based on that.
Okay.
But learning more will help me more about doing that too, from the photos.
Uh-huh. Cool.
So it is very helpful subject that you have picked to talk
Oh, thank
about.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep recording then and show the video. Sorry, I need to find the link really quickly. Okay. Okay, I got it. Okay, here.
I'm going to presume in this video this is your first DSLR and that you have no previous experience. So this is just going to go through basically how to get your camera to take pictures after you've taken it out of the box, and some of the settings that you might find you need to use. Okay, so first of all, we need to attach the lens to the camera. The lens I have here is the 18 to 55mm VR that came with the kit. And we need to attach it to the camera. So first of all, we need to take off this cover. Just twist it in the direction that the arrow shows you. And then you need to take off the rear cap of the lens. Again, twist it in the direction that the arrow shows. And you'll see on the lens that there's a white dot. And you'll see on the camera that there's a white dot as well. Simply line up the two white dots and then twist the camera until you hear it click. So we'll do that again. Line up the two white dots and then twist till you hear it click. Okay, so that's the lens now mounted on the camera. So let's turn the camera on now. Now I've got this set up in guide mode, which if you're new to photography, I recommend that you start with first. As you can see, there's 3 different icons on the screen. It says shoot, view delete, and setup. So we're going to go into shoot. So just press the OK button. And you'll see it says easy operation, advanced operation, or use a timer. So I'm going to go and press OK on easy operation. And then you'll get several different menu options again. Auto, no flash, distant subjects, close-ups, sleeping faces, moving subjects, landscapes, portraits, night portrait. Now these are the sorts of types of photos that you might want to take. So choose the one that best suits the photo that you want to take, or if you're not really sure, go for auto. In this instance, I'm just going to choose auto. The camera tells you then that the camera is now in auto mode. Simply press the shutter button to take pictures in almost any conditions. This means that the camera will set itself up for the optimum shooting of whatever subject you decide to take a picture of. And you've got 2 options again, more settings or start shooting. I'm going to click OK on start shooting, and then you get 3 more options. Use the viewfinder, use live view, or shoot movies. Now, if you've never used a camera before, you might not be used to using the viewfinder, which is this piece here. So you might want to use live view, which displays the picture live on this big screen here. I'm going to go for use the viewfinder. I recommend that you try and get used to using the viewfinder. It's a much better way of working, I think. Okay, so once you press that, the info screen comes up, and this tells you all the information that you need to know about the settings on the camera. There's many different parts here. Some of it will mean nothing to you at the moment, but the basic elements that you need to know are these bits here. You'll see there's a big circle with dots around it. There's like a fraction number, and then there's another number preceded by an F. And these are your shutter speed and your aperture. The shutter speed is the speed that the camera will fire, and the aperture is the size of the hole in the lens. And you'll see, once you get more into photography and learn about aperture and depth of field, you will see on this circle scale here that as you change the aperture, this picture actually changes. You might be able to see it now, and it's doing it by itself. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture is, the bigger the hole is, so it lets in more light. Okay, so we're on auto. We've got our lens on. The camera is ready to take a picture. It's set everything up for me. I don't need to do anything else at this stage. So to take the picture, you have to press this silver button, which is the shutter button, and that activates the autofocus. So just press it down halfway, and you'll see and hear the lens make a noise for the autofocus. If you're looking through the viewfinder, you'll see several red dots in the viewfinder. These are the focus points that are being used. You might see several light up in this mode. And if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, you should see a green dot come up when the subject is in focus. And it might even beep depending on how you've set your camera up. So once you've half pressed this shutter button down, press it the rest of the way. The flash might pop up if the camera feels it's necessary. And you can take the picture. So that's the really basic operation of the camera. That is how to take a picture without doing absolutely anything to the camera at all. You don't have to know anything about the settings. You don't have to know anything about photography. That's just a point and shoot. Let the camera do everything for you. Once you've decided that you want to advance your photography a bit further, you have several options available to you. You can either stay in this guide mode, and instead of choosing easy operation, you can choose advanced operation. And you see this will give you several more options of different types of photos to choose from. You see it says soften backgrounds, bring more into focus, freeze motion of people, freeze motion of vehicles, and show water flowing. If you press OK on soften backgrounds, this then tells you exactly how to do that. So in this occasion, the camera won't set it up for you, but it tells you exactly what to do to get the effect that you're after. For example, I press soften backgrounds and it's told me to choose the A mode, which is aperture priority. And then it tells me that the small value softens the backgrounds. So what it's telling me is to put the camera into the A. And then it's telling me to choose an aperture number, which remember was the number preceded by the F, to make it as low as possible. And you can see on the screen, when I change this aperture, you can see, as I mentioned earlier, that hole there getting bigger and smaller. So remember, a smaller hole lets in less light, a bigger hole lets in more light. On this particular lens, the lowest I can go is f3.5. And f3.5 will give me a nice soft background from the subject. As much as this lens can give, obviously, it's not going to be as good as, say, an f2.8 lens or an f1.8 lens. But for portraits and things like that, when your subject is further away from the background, that should make the background nice and smooth and out of focus.
It's Friday. The battle begins.
We wrapping now? Sure, the notorious DIG.
So once you've got yourself out of guide mode, which is the very basic takes you through step by step, you might want to advance into some of these other settings that we've got here. Next one down from guide mode is the green one, which is auto. This is very similar to guide mode, except it doesn't take you through step by step. It just automatically chooses the settings and lets you take the photo. So we're in auto mode now, and say I see something that I want to quickly take a photo of. I just half press the shutter and take the picture, but it's not telling me anything. It's not telling me what it's doing. It's not telling me how to do it myself. It's just going to get on and do it by itself. Further around, we have these little icons on the mode dial. These represent different settings, optimum settings for the type of picture that the icon represents. See, the first one looks like an arrow with a cross through it. That means no flash. So that will disable the flash completely. So that's really good if you're somewhere where it won't allow flash, but you want to take pictures, but you're not entirely sure what settings you need to use. And you don't want the flash popping up by itself, and then you get told off by the security guards or whatever. Next one is a picture of a person with a hat on. This is the portrait mode. So that will set the camera up for portraits. Next one is a picture of a mountain. So that's obviously for landscapes. So that'll set up the optimum settings for landscape photo. Next one is a child, I think. So that's obviously pictures of children. The next one is a running man. So that's your sport mode. That'll give you a really fast shutter speed to freeze motion. This next one often confuses people. It's a picture of a flower, but it's not flower mode or it's not plant mode or anything like that. This is actually macro mode, which in itself is quite deceiving as well. Many people think when they put the camera into macro mode, it's instantly going to allow them to shoot macro photographs, but that's not the case. Simply all this does is set up the aperture and the shutter speed for a good macro photograph. So it will give you quite a small aperture to get maximum depth of field. To get true macro photographs, you'll need a macro lens or a macro attachment of some description. Next one is a picture of a person with a star behind them. This is your night shot mode. This will raise the flash automatically usually. And that will fire the flash, but it will also keep the shutter speed quite slow. So the flash will expose the person or the subject, but you'll also get the ambient light of the background in to get a nice kind of balanced night shot. Then you get on to the manual modes, which are in their own little box in here. M is fully manual, where you choose your own shutter speed and your own aperture and every other setting. A we spoke about just now, which is aperture priority. You select the aperture of the camera and the camera selects the shutter speed. S is shutter priority. You choose the shutter speed and the camera selects the aperture. And then P is program auto. This is a kind of semi-automatic mode. It's a series of preset combinations of shutter speed and aperture that you can change. As you change, you can't change a separate thing. You can't change the aperture. You sort of go up in increments and it will automatically change both for you. And then back into guide mode. Okay, so that's all you need to know basically to start shooting with the camera. Any of these modes will get you a good photograph, but as you progress your photography and as you get used to the camera and learn what the different settings do, I recommend you start using the other modes that we have here, the M, A, S, and P modes. They'll really help you get to grips with aperture and shutter speed. And it's good for you to practice with and to learn. That's the brilliant thing with digital is you can take as many pictures as you like. You can always delete them if they're no good. And you don't have to wait for the film to be processed. You can see the results instantly. Okay, so I'll do another video shortly, more in depth into some of these different modes and different settings on the camera. But hopefully that will get you to take a few pictures straight away. I know how much it's exciting when you get a new camera like this. You just want to go out and take as many pictures as possible. And often with a DSLR, the first few pictures you take, you'll be really disappointed with, especially if you're used to a compact camera where it does everything for you. It's not really good. Sometimes when you first use a DSLR.
Oh, hi. Oh, hi, Darren.
I'm sorry. I forgot. I just don't remember. Yeah. Or yeah.
I didn't tell you. I think I forgot to tell you.
Probably we are seeing last week you had a test, maybe next or something vaguely. Maybe you did. I don't remember. Anyway.
Art supply store and bought one brush, which is not the right one. And it is like maybe very cheap one.